In this world, we do not have an endless supply of paper, and especially not in my household. But even when I do have paper, I don't always have the tools ready for when I need to create something or I am unable to create it in the way that I envision in my head. But there is a modern solution to that. Digital art. My iPad is basically an infinite sketchbook, no paper, no dried up markers, just infinite possibilities. But unfortunately, as always, we have a problem. I don't have the skills to draw digitally the way that I do traditionally. And it turns out that they are both very different beasts. And figuring out those skills and translating them is so different. Oh! She knocked over my iPad. But I do want to be able to bridge that gap and take what I have in my head that I can do on paper and bring it into the digital world. I don't know if you guys can hear her purring, but... So cute. I'm so glad she came to say hi. So I landed on a 30-day art challenge, specifically in the digital sphere. The true goal is to just be able to create more freely, because not being able to draw as good digitally makes me sad. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, so let's see how it goes. And then I do really quickly want to show you where we're starting, just so that we can kind of have an idea start to finish of how I've improved. I definitely, when it comes to digital, just kind of experiment and try new things. Not that they're awful, it's just that they're alright. So this first drawing took me days to complete. I was pulling out every trick that I had in the books to make it as good as I could with the skills that I had so far digitally, and it really fell short of my expectations. Not that it's awful, it's just not really where I would like my digital art to be, and it's not really where I feel like my traditional art is. It's meh. And I feel specifically I really struggle with the use of colors as well as values. I feel like this is not too high of a value. The biggest thing is obviously it's the pale skin with the dark hair. But within the paleness, I don't really have super strong values. I struggle with shadows. My proportions were not quite right. The horse's eye is way too big. And this hand's probably way too small. It's supposed to be the size of the head. So I can definitely work on that. Some things that I do really like that I wish to put into more of my pieces is organic shapes like this. I really like these little wavy bits. Yeah, I think that's what I like most about this piece is these little wavy bits. I really enjoy the work of Yoshitaka Amano, Ayami Kojima, Bonnie-chan. I really like Gustave Doré. I can't pronounce it. So that's kind of where I get a lot of my inspiration from towards my art style. I like how free they are on the paper, and I wish that I could do that. I will say my style is a lot more solid, shapes. I really struggled with the hair, getting it to be free-flowing. It's mostly just a chunk, and I really want to work on that. Of course, I didn't really draw many people throughout the rest of this, but we'll get into that in the last drawing. I'm really excited for that one. See how everything's gone and changed. But for my next set of projects, I decided to fully work in grayscale to really practice my values. I honestly really ended up liking all of the work I did in grayscale, and I've really been debating since if I want my identity and style in digital to be completely grayscale, which makes a lot of sense because traditionally I very much prefer pencils, sketches and pen, and I do occasionally work with acrylic and oil, but I do tend to do more muted colors when I do that. It's just a preference. I do really think in the future I would like to do minimally color contrasting pieces, and I also really enjoyed having this solid color background in this page with the grayscale on top. It's something that I would love to see more in my future digital pieces, and maybe honestly in some traditional pieces. I don't really do a stark background very often, except for in my sketchbook sometimes. My least favorite piece was this bat. I really struggled with the values in it, and I do think it's partially because of the reference that I decided to choose. The values are just so much contrasting and so dark in some places that it's very hard to see a lot of these things, so I kind of had to guess where a bunch of stuff was. It made my brain think a lot, and I ended up having to come back and fix it up. Like, the eye was just too dark and gray and muddy, and I kept coming back for multiple days trying to get it to somewhere that I like, and I worked on other pieces and I came back and it did get somewhere where I like, but it's still my least favorite piece on the sheet. At first it was this one, bad up here, because I didn't like how the mouth turned out, but I do really like the little hair textures that I got and the skin. I enjoy that. I also really enjoyed doing these detail lines, and I put those in quite a few of these pieces. I think these little details, so much fun to do, is probably my favorite part. Like, the blocking is whatever, but like these little fun shapes and additions I just love doing. And it was on this bat where I realized that I was spending so much of my time every day, because I was doing one piece a day. I was spending like at a minimum 4 hours, more likely 6 to 8 hours doing these. So it wasn't like practice, it was more so like full pieces that I was doing. And in hindsight, I wish that I had committed to one piece a day, but more so like smaller pieces where I would not spend as much time, so I could make it more sustainable for myself. And then with quite a few of these pieces that I drew these days, I did take and make into washi tape and stickers for my website. I can show you those real quick. I have them all lined up on my website's resources page, which I just think they turned out so cute and I love them. And they're obviously around on my website. So definitely worth doing these. I love doing them. They were my favorites throughout the whole project, and I really like the grayscale. But I will say that these pieces took me most of the challenge to do. And for the last little half, I am going to be doing some color work. And I just know it's going to be hard. It's going to be so hard. So, flowers and peaches. These took me ages to draw, and I didn't even finish the last one because I just got so sick and tired of how hard it was. I did really like how these donut peaches turned out, and I think that the most important thing for me here was taking these pieces into grayscale and checking out the values. With this first piece here, these flowers in grayscale do not look great. I will be honest with you, it's kind of hard to see the stark blacks in the berries, and everything just looks kind of muddy. So I did know beforehand, thanks to the first flowers in grayscale, that I wanted to do better with the peaches. And then when it came to my last piece, I didn't finish it. I got so sick and tired of working in color. It was just so hard. I was having such a hard time with the values. I did not like it, but I do plan to work on it in the future, and I do really want to have those skills, and I'm just tired, you know? I'm tired. Really tired. And then for my last few days of the challenge, I wanted to do another lady. Again, hopefully a character that is going to be living in my Erebus Noxaris world. By the way, I think I forgot to mention that the first drawing is a character from that world as well. But I'm not going to get into too much detail about these characters because they aren't completely solidified yet. They're just kind of concepts. The whole thing is kind of a concept that I've been building in my head for about a year. And I obviously decided to go with grayscale again on this drawing. I am a creature of habit and comfort. But I will say I like how this character came out way more than my first drawing of this challenge, which means we are getting somewhere. And this challenge is working. I feel like the values and proportions are way better in here. I do think that there are some places where I can do better. I feel like my lights could be a lot better. My brights and lights and whatever. Maybe my darks can be darker. We'll get there. I definitely miss the fun organic wavy bits, but I do have some blood in there. The biggest thing that we notice is some improvement from the first character, and that is what's important to me. And then I did actually try and do that trick where you take like the value selector thing and you just select the color palette that way. I do think that it turned out pretty well. Like, this is how you can kind of see a little bit better some of the values and how it turned out. And I like this color scheme, but I'm not really sure if this is where I'm going with this character. And I don't know, I guess we'll see. Now I'm gonna go get comfy and let's start redoing this first drawing. I do think I will be doing grayscale on this as well. Maybe a fun background, like a fun color for the background. But I do want to focus specifically on the values and keeping it within my traditional style, but digital. I'm super excited to do this. Let's just get into it. It's probably going to take me at least a couple of days. I don't know. We'll see. And with that, we have finally come to the end of this challenge. This drawing took me way less time to complete than the first one did, but it did still take me quite a while. It took me a couple of days, give or take, because I had work and whatnot in between, and I very much preferred working in grayscale for it. So let's get into comparing these two. And I did change the camera just so that I could have both drawings on at the same time. First, I do want to say that I'm so happy with how the redo drawing came out, and I'm seriously considering doing this drawing every year just to see how much my art skills have improved, especially in the digital realm. But I do want to say there are a few things that I do really miss in my newer drawing that I had in my first one, and it's the wavy bits, which I did mention before that I actually really liked them, and they aren't as much in this drawing. I did put some in the dress, it's just that they're not very noticeable when you zoom out as much as these ones are in this one. And I also just omitted them completely from the hair, which I feel like I miss, but I'm not really sure how I'm going to implement that in the future. I just am thinking about it, and I definitely will be making them more of a priority just because I really like how they turn out. I like how fun they are. And then also with the horse, I can't decide if the before or the after is better. I think they're both kind of a little bit bad in their own ways. The new one is kind of giving Barbie Pegasus. I just can't unsee it. It's giving a little bit uncanny. But I did kind of fix the eye size. The other one is way too big, and this one is only slightly too big. But when it comes to the focus of her drawing, the lady, I'm really super happy with the growth there, especially when it comes to the face. Let me get zoomed in on there real quick so we can get a little close up. There we go. The lips look more like they're part of her face on the newer one as compared to the other one. It looks kind of just like they're pasted on there, and the nose shape is a little bit off. And the shadows as well as the values in, honestly, the whole piece, I feel like just look way better. I kind of got a better sense going through it with the grayscale. And I definitely feel way better that I didn't rely on harsh lines as much on the second one as I did on the first one. I don't mind if there's harsh lines in there, I just don't want too many. And I do definitely wish that my work was a bit looser, but it is what it is. Especially when it comes to digital, it's kind of hard to not have it be super blocky, chunky, you know? I don't know how to explain it any better than that. But all in all, I am super glad that I did this. Definitely a great use of my time. Obviously, I can still make a lot of improvements on my digital art, but I am very happy with how far we've come in such a short amount of time. It's definitely worth doing the challenge if you are up to it. And I do feel like I have met the goal of making it more like my traditional style. They aren't the same, but they're closer, and that's what we're here for. That's why we practice. With this challenge, I do feel like the best thing that it gave me was that it made me want to draw more often. And I know that that's what everyone says, make it a habit, but it's really hard to make habits, and this definitely helped a lot with creating that habit for me, and I hope to keep up with it. Again, I do wish that I had set myself some better guidelines on finishing a piece every day, but making them less complicated so they didn't take hours, at least on the days that I didn't have multiple hours to sit down and work on a piece, just so that I was working on specific skills every day so that I knew exactly what I was improving on with everything that I was practicing. But I am so glad that I actually sat down and did this, because I feel so much more confident in my digital art now, and I feel like I have
have way more freedom when it comes to what medium I'm working in. Traditional and digital art are widely different mediums with very different skill sets, but it's definitely so much easier after you put in the time and the effort to get better. And whatever medium you've started in, it definitely will continue to grow and help you with every other medium that you decide to choose. Thank you all for joining me in this journey, and if you've made it this far, maybe we're vibing and you could hit the subscribe and like button down below, and I will see you in the next one.